This is Jane. I'm going to start the podcast early because I have to play a video before Suzette calls in. So I'm going to play this video. All right, this is about a meeting in Munich between leaders in which Hegseth and J.D. Vance were there. And after the meeting, Hegseth met with the neo-Nazis of Germany, a head group that's run out of, I believe, Germany. It's some part of Europe. And things that were impressed the European leaders to the point of fear.
In the audience, I think many of us Americans just felt totally embarrassed as VP Vance delivered really not a speech, but a condescending lecture about the fundamental tenets of democracy to our European allies. And what was most remarkable is just how hypocritical this speech was. He talked about respecting election results. He talked about not jailing your political opponents, and he talked about not censoring the media. The problem is that this is coming from a man who himself won't acknowledge the 2020 election results. This is a day after Trump said he should jail the members of the January 6th committee, his political opponents, and this administration just kicked the AP out of the Pentagon and is censoring dozens of words from government publications, keeping Americans in the dark while they take reams of data off the internet. So the utter hypocrisy was met with a room full of hundreds of people, a couple hundred people, and about 5 of them applauded. I think 4 of them were Chinese. It was only the Chinese and the Russians who liked the speech. The Russian foreign minister actually came out and praised the speech. That's the only praise you've heard about what VP Vance had to say.
Notable when you break down the response like that. And so as someone who was in the room, both hearing that and then the reaction from world leaders, the word I keep hearing is stunned. What did you say to them in response about this next era of American foreign policy led by President Trump?
Well, of course, in private, the Republicans that I was with at the conference were embarrassed by this speech as well. They're very scared of Trump, so they're reluctant to say anything in public. I did hear Senator Wicker notably say some things publicly, which was good to hear. But what happened in the meetings to follow were...
I'm going to pause a sec before my co-hosts call in. The first thing that I want to acknowledge is, what if Russia and America do become allies? Then will Europe be the losing party? Will NATO dissolve? And for example, Russia spent 5 years helping Bashar al-Assad annihilate Syria, which is primarily Muslim, but also holds a handful of Christians. So now I don't think Russia and Israel are friends. They are not friends. So if America, let's just say Trump gets away with bulldozing Gaza and turning it into a capitalistic haven, which I really doubt in 4 years that's going to happen. But I don't know how Russia's going to play into that, except for we could be a de facto supporter of Russia for all the other smaller territories that they want to conquer. In the past, they've tried conquering Azerbaijan. They've successfully helped Bashar al-Assad annihilate Syria. Would Edward Snowden come back to America? And Russia would just be playing us because they're already aligned with China and Iran. So I don't see how that's going to possibly work. So I'm just going to play the end of this video because I want my audience, the people who really do listen, to hear it.
Democrats and Republicans from the congressional delegation, House and Senate, sitting with European leaders and trying to reassure them, trying to say Congress here is united in a bipartisan way with Ukraine. We stand with Ukraine. We do not approve of the administration's moves to negotiate just with Russia. We don't approve of what Secretary Hegseth, the Fox News personality, did just a day before, basically selling out the Ukrainians by giving away our biggest leverage in the negotiation, saying that it was unrealistic for Ukraine to get its sovereign borders back and for Ukraine to ever join NATO. So what the delegation was trying to do is make up for the administration, but the result was chaos. And our European leaders, with whom we have stood strong in NATO to prevent wars in Europe ever since World War II, they feel really lost and they feel abandoned as allies.
But you once again bring up a scenario that may seem familiar to viewers. It certainly feels familiar to me as a reporter in Washington, this idea that privately Republicans are having different reactions than they are willing to have publicly. I do take the point that Senator Wicker at least offered some public on-the-record criticism in Munich around the way that Pete Hegseth had been talking about the potential concessions to end the Ukrainian conflict. But where does that leave your Republican colleagues there? And is this one of the issues that they might be willing, should the Trump administration continue down this path of reorienting towards Russia? Is this an issue where they might be willing to offer some rare condemnation publicly?
Well, I would certainly hope so, because freedom and democracy,
but did they tell you that?
The future stability of Europe are on the line. But no, they didn't tell me that, because frankly, they're being cowards. They're really just so scared of Trump. They're so scared that he'll primary them, get them kicked out of office or whatnot, that they're unwilling to do the right thing. I mean, you saw Republicans cave on the nominations of people like Hegseth, who some of them publicly opposed before coming around to Trump's view. And what's most dangerous about this is what one Republican advisor told me after.
I'm going to play the rest of it after my co-host join, because I have to make the call now, okay? And this time on this episode, we're not going to spend a lot of time worrying about who's too loud, who's too soft, if there's background noise.
You precious love. Hello.
You're on the air.
I'm on the air.
Suzette will be calling in 3 to 4 minutes, and so will Don. So tonight's topic is variety. But did you know that Hegseth, when he was in Europe at a speech in Munich, he met with the leaders of the neo-Nazis?
And?
Well, it's not a good look for America.
Why come? They organization, they people. Well, they didn't do anything wrong.
Well, what if Obama had met with some kind of Mexican nationalist group, or what kind of criticism would he garner?
I don't know.
Okay, well, I'm going to recall some things that have been going on this week. Tonight in Munich, there was a conference in Munich with all the European leaders, Russia and the American leaders, and J.D. Vance tried lecturing the Europeans on what it means to have a true democracy. And they also had military personnel present information, namely Hegseth, saying that the only option Ukraine has is to surrender to Russia, which they will not do, and that they can never get back their original borders. And they also made a negative remark that Europe will never help the Ukraine in facilitating this war, so they might as well accept it and just go back to being under Russia's domain. Then I read earlier this week that Trump usurped $83 million back from New York in some kind of federal funding, and that was symbolic because that's how much he had to pay for his court hearing. And then another thing is, I have to look it up. Do you have anything right now?
Ukraine is not under Russia. Ukraine was its own country.
I know.
They had an election. They overthrew the government. Russia didn't overthrow the government. The CIA did. Yanukovych.
You think the CIA overthrew the Ukrainian government?
Yanukovych. He was elected as the president
Russia invaded the Ukraine. That's what happened in 2014.
Because they was
And
implanting.
at that time, Ukraine warded Russia off, and they had some kind of weird. I think it's the Russian leader you just mentioned, and
well,
that.
Would you let biological labs be built in your country that's going to be used against Russia? Come on now.
Well, I don't think that's the reason Russia invaded the Ukraine. They wanted their.
Why did they invade it?
They wanted the territory to explore cobalt mines and other natural resources within that area. And they also didn't want Ukraine to join the European Union because it used to be a historical part of Russia.
Well, I don't blame them. I don't want them to join the NATO.
Well, they didn't want them.
The European Union is gone.
Well, they still have the EU coin.
That'll make no difference.
What do you mean gone? Like they're not a military force? Is that what you're saying? Because
they had NATO wanted to put missiles in Ukraine right there on Russia's border.
Well, England helped America in every proxy war the last 20 years. They helped us in Iran. They helped us in Iraq and Afghanistan. So there is European loyalty to the former America. Right now they don't.
They helped the United States during World War II too, didn't they?
Yes, but right now none of the European leaders trust Donald Trump or his plans for Greenland.
That's between Greenland and the United States.
Okay, I'm going to play the rest of this video, and if Suzette hasn't called in by then, because she answered me twice saying she was calling in, then I'm going to call her.
I really don't want to see Trump being ambitious about a Greenland either. He should stick to MAGA.
I know, and he keeps trying to. He's trying to attack. He's trying to accomplish too much over a multi-agenda style ritual of some sort.
No, he's not, because every time you look around, they're trying to stall him because they think that the midterm election is going to give the House back to the Democrats. No, he needs to move forward.
They're not trying to stall him. They're trying to eject him out of office, ultimately.
They raised $22 billion to prevent him from being elected.
Who did?
The deep state.
Well, the deep state lost, and now we're stuck with a rogue president.
Ain't nothing wrong with this president. He's a good man. Look at what he's revealing.
He's too narrow-minded.
He's not one of the 159 million. Well, it wasn't that big, but he has been filing Social Security for 150 years.
Who did? He just put a proposal through to cut $880 million from Medicare and 20% of SNAP benefits.
It's good.
Did you know Elon Musk has $15.2 million in government contracts, and he's bitching about welfare people when he just had his 13th illegitimate child?
I don't know nothing about that.
Okay, I'm trying to call Suzette now. Just don't make noise right now, because you're not gonna. Once I call Suzette, you're not gonna be able to talk. So hold on a sec, okay? Just a second. It's eight. The show's been going on 15 minutes. Can you join us?
I can.
Okay, you can, right?
I can. I'll call you back in 2 minutes, I promise.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Bianca. I got a hold of Suzette, and she's calling back in 2 minutes. So now I'm going to add Don. 1 second. All right, we're going to have to... Are you there, Bianca? We're waiting for Suzette and Don to call in. Don didn't answer, so he said he's calling in for sure. I don't know the problem. So you were supposed to look up one historical thing this week to share with the group. What happened? Did you do it?
The FBI is going to reveal the Martin Luther King tapes.
And what does that involve? Is it some form of corruption?
It was a wiretap.
You can't talk about something that's going to occur. You have to talk about something that's already occurred in history.
No, it did occur in history. They just now revealed it.
Okay.
Well, they haven't been revealed.
We have another caller. Hold on. Don?
Yeah.
We're merging the call. Just a second.
You're on YouTube and the other.
Yeah, Bianca's in the middle of explaining his topic for the week, so here he is.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, it's going to be the release of the tapes. The JFK tapes, information, and that of Martin Luther King, and probably a couple other things I don't know right off the top of my head.
And what about Martin Luther King? We already know he committed adultery. What else is on the docket for?
Everybody don't know. Everybody don't know that.
He had one affair that I'm aware of.
Maybe it's more. I don't know. I wasn't there listening to the tape, listening to the conversations.
Do you think it's earth-shattering? It's not going to change the fact that we celebrate his birthday every year.
It may. They may want to take his statue down.
Okay, we're going to defer to Don till we can do more research. Don, how was your trip to New York?
Hey, hello everybody. Sorry I'm late. I just finished dinner, yeah, it was pretty substantial and amazing. Only because I'm so glad I don't live that way.
You mean like you don't live in decadence?
I don't. Oh, I live in decadence. It's just not in New York. These people are not living in decadence per se, no, because they're working hard to stay alive. Just every day, they're doing whatever they can to survive, and it's a rat race. That's a really good way of putting it. They're running over each other every day. And it's so sad to see because nobody's really happy.
1 minute, Suzette's calling in 1 minute. Suzette's on the line. Keep going, Don.
Okay. Yeah, but the number of places, the historic locations, and then the number of universities, because we're an aficionado of universities, and so we basically rented a car like we always do, and tooled around the city.
Nobody rents a car in Manhattan. They take Uber and cabs.
Except us, we're bougie like that. So we have, so we rented a car and stayed. I'll send pictures if I haven't already. I don't think I have. We stayed at the Marriott downtown, so that's like that's a block and a half away from the World Trade Center. So we were able to look at the museum, or that Pat went in the museum, but we were able to look at the grounds and saw where it was, and it was it must have been amazing. But the buildings adjacent had to be restored too, so that was a massive effort to restore that area. But we were right across the bay from the Statue of Liberty and walking distance to
the Statue of Liberty is in a little. It's across the way from Battery Park.
That's where we were.
Pat posted all those pictures online. You don't have to send it to us.
No problem.
Yeah, she posted pictures of the memorial and the hotel you were staying at, that from the window view. Well, why don't you tell us about the conference quick? We have Suzette and Bianchi and Don all on the line, so go ahead and do that quick.
Okay, well, the gist of the conference was, in essence, to swear in the new board members from the election that we just had. And Pat was a pro tem. She filled the vacancy, but she lost to her opponent. And so they did request her to stay on the committees that she was appointed to. So I'm not sure what that all means, but we're, in a way, it's no big deal. I won't say it like that.
Did she lose because the other person had better credentials?
Well, she was a doctor, so that might have been mental imagery type of thing to the voters. But Pat has a lot more experience in the entails of the organization. She in the insides. So she basically it was kind of a surprise and possibly an upset, but there were some ballot malfunctions too that were questionable that we may or may not pursue, but we're all right because we're able to tend to our branch here instead of having to worry about national issues, especially when they put them on us instead of us doing our own thing. So we'll have to see how it works out in the next couple of years when the next elections come out. But they also went through the image awards and how we're losing money on that, but also and how we as an organization have to refuse to follow a lot of these orders that 47 is putting out. So they're telling us to be vigilant on things that are illegal or improper, and make sure that we
What do they consider illegal and improper? I don't like an organization telling me not to obey the orders, obey the policies of a national president.
Yeah, well, you got a president who said that exact phrase many times. So, he's already said he wants to change the Constitution. And
he can't. Well, there's 20 states that want to change the Constitution.
You cannot change the Constitution, Bianchi.
You can't amend the Constitution. There's 20 states, and I'm a member of the organization working in one state.
Not one person. No one person can change the Constitution.
I didn't say. I didn't say one person can change the Constitution. I said that there's 19 going on 20 states that's proposing the amendments to the United States Constitution.
I applaud that.
All right, then.
Yeah, well,
so for your organizations to stand to beat, I'd like to know what is it about that they want you to be vigilant against.
I was telling you. It's about the corruption. It's about the mistreatment Mistreatment.
Like they 150-year-old people that's collecting Social Security.
What do you guys talk for? Let me interrupt a minute. We're all supposed to present either a current event or a past event. So wrap it up, Don, so Suzette can share her idea.
Oh, no, I'm pretty much done. We just came in late last night, so I'm tired as all get out. But the bottom line is that there are things that people are going to have to be vigilant about, especially if they're talking about mass firings in the federal government, dismantling of organizations, illegally where the Congress is the one
how you know?
do that.
Well, let me ask a question.
We're talking about. Go ahead.
If you discover that you got way more people in a department, then you got to get rid of them. You got more than you need.
There's nothing wrong with offering retirement or early
That's
retirement.
called nutrition. Chrysler done it, didn't they?
Yeah, but damn it, Bianchi, he's letting these people go and still paying them until September. What the fuck is that?
You know why come he's doing that? You know why come he's doing it? Well, it's better than just calling them up and say tomorrow you fired. And you know the way people in this country don't take on the culture of wanting to have something for nothing.
You know what though? They just laid off everybody in the IRS they were training who were new.
Right. Well, he let off everybody in the nuclear agency for like 18 hours. And they said that all hell broke loose.
Yeah, they laid off key people who were in charge of the boards.
Jesus Christ, what is that, Bianchi?
He got the right to do it. He was the executive.
Your nuclear weaponry was stopped.
Why are you still making nuclear weaponry?
No, the people with the buttons.
Okay, it's Suzette's. You guys can talk, but it's Suzette's turn. So hold your thoughts and then let her go. She had to call in late.
So what business is the NAACP? That ain't about no racism. That ain't about no not being equal. That ain't about we can't march and all that crap.
What do you mean? We can do all those things. We do those things. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about, Bianchi?
NAACP need to be more precise in detail, because every person that you designate as black is not a part of them.
Right. We
They
understand.
need to be more specific.
Well, they still can march.
They try to deceive people and make the organization look bigger than what it's supposed to be. Look at the money they received from Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo was implemented in slavery lawsuits. And they received $50 million from it.
And that's one of the reasons they had to make some reparations. But they weren't.
Oh, bull crap. That's a budget.
They did. But
you just paying people money
that they stole.
That's what's going on.
No, this whole country is Bianchi. That's all I'm saying. This whole country is made off of black man's back.
This country ain't made up of no goddamn black man back. That's all
All right, I'm either gonna have to hang up on one of you guys or mute you. Which one is it gonna be?
The black man invented the sun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're not having the radio show tonight about black pecking order rules. We're having the show about our national dilemma.
I was explaining the report. That's all.
I know. I didn't blame you, Don. I'm blaming Bianchi. You're getting off task, and I have another host that you keep shutting out that you said is your favorite.
Hello, Suzette.
Hello. Good evening, everyone.
Hello, Suzette.
So, I know that you're one of the most punctual callers, and I never have to remind you, but you said you had an assignment to present tonight. Do you have that ready?
Oh, I have the assignment that you had presented to us as far as a historical figure and something about the historical figure that a lot of people don't know.
Go ahead.
It's not okay. My historical figure is about John Jay. And people are saying, who's John Jay? Because we're all familiar with the Jefferson.
John Jay.
He wrote the federal. He helped write the Federalist Papers.
Yes, he was an abolitionist, as well as being a lawyer. He had participated in the Revolutionary War. What was I going to say? He was actually the first Chief Justice of the United States, and he was offered that position by George Washington in 1789. And he did all those things and more. And yet we don't hear his name out there in the universe as much as the usual names like George Washington and Jefferson and Madison and.
Ask Jackie what he knows about that.
I'm familiar. Wait, Don. I'm familiar with him because two of the key Federalist Papers about state rights versus it had to do with universal rights, but also states' rights versus federal encroachment. He wrote a lot of commentary on those two major points in the Federalist Papers. Go ahead.
Yes, and one of those was advocating for a stronger government than the one stated in the Articles of Confederation.
Good.
Yeah, because it's like
my historical personage is Robert E. Lee, Colonel Robert Lee at the time, when he went and put down the planned raid of Harper's Ferry of John Brown. John Brown was a maniac. And he got captured and hung, which was ideal. He went to Frederick Douglass and tried to get Frederick Douglass to join in. He said no. He tried to get Harriet Tubman to join in. She said no.
No.
Because they do that. So his efforts kept many white males, females, and children from being killed because that was his plan. Him and his son both was lynched. That was a good thing.
And you said that was your hero?
You're damn right. Robert E. Lee. He fought effectively in the Mexican-American War.
Okay. There you go. Very good.
There you go. Very well put there.
I like that. I like discussing history.
There were two major Federalist Papers that John Jay wrote about, and like Suzette said, he was a Federalist. He believed in a strong central government, but I'm gonna have to practice that mention it next week because I don't have it right in front of me, but I know that I wrote papers about it.
Yeah, okay. I was a political science minor. And so I had to deal with John Jay with the Federalist Papers, but also as an adversary to Thomas Jefferson in the later years. So they were at odds about how to spend the money on France's architecture.
What? What about France's architecture?
The influence of architecture on some of their buildings and how much they cost. Because he bought Jefferson bought over, what the hell did he bring? A lot of artwork and his ideas for what's the name of his Jefferson? What's the name of his plantation? Jefferson plantation.
It's in Virginia. I forgot.
No, I've been there before. Damn, I got a brain freeze. Anyway, he brought over a lot of the ideas that he wanted to put in the Constitution from there. So they were. So there were a lot of things that he and Jay intertwined.
Okay, it's my turn. It's my turn to do my biography thing. My historical figure is General Pinochet from Chile. Henry Kissinger helped overthrow the Chilean government. It was a socialist regime. that had many radical socialist ideas about everyone getting fairness. And Kissinger helped overthrow Salvador Allende, who was a very popular figure, and Pinochet took over, and he was a dictator of Chile from 1973 to 1990. Many Chileans lost their lives in a soccer stadium in which they rounded up citizens and killed them. And for over 17 years, Chile was dominated by a strict regime, which was run by the military pretty much. And somebody's clamoring their dishes, so please stop or put yourself on mute. And it was a pivotal time in America because Kissinger was aggressive in politics. He knew one of his philosophies, it wasn't raison d'etat, it was a different one, where like you just kind of like Machiavellian, where you attain power for power's sake. And he aligned with certain dark dictators just to throw an advantage in the way of America. So that's my presentation. Anyone want to?
Good. You pronounced General. Now I could be wrong, but I hear it's pronounced Pinochet.
Well, in my Latin American political science class, she called him Pinochet. So maybe it was mispronounced. I don't know.
Yep. I totally makes sense.
No, there was a lot of South America. Just a minute, Don. Pinochet. What's the diff, Cliff?
Well, you might as well, the way you pronounce it, you might as well go ahead and say Pinocchio.
Or polish this.
I'm going to beat you at pinochle. Anyways, there was
it's from Spain. Well, I guess it Pinochet or Pinocchio or whatever. What did you say?
Pinochet.
Okay. Okay. Then that's good because
what the point
in
is.
Spanish.
Yeah, go ahead.
In Spanish, that would mean like the cooter, the flower, part on the woman.
I like that name.
Well, he pruned the government, and he had dark backers in the sense that he had imperialist governments supporting him for the wrong reason. It was not a government that supported the people by the people.
Okay.
And at the same time, Argentina fell into the hands of a dark dictatorship in which they killed college students and dropped them over the ocean. And they went missing, and there was a big movement about it. And Jimmy Carter in 1976 and 77 tried to help the mothers of those children. And I don't know if any of you guys ever heard about that either. So it was a movement in Argentina about how the government suppressed the people and they killed the people who went against them.
That's not good.
So let's move on to modern day politics. Before it was just me and Pianki on the line, and there was a conference in Munich this week with Hegseth and Vance. And Vance was J.D. Vance, he was trying to lecture the Europeans on what a proper democracy was. And then Hegseth ended up meeting with the heads of the neo-Nazis. And Pianki didn't have a problem with that. So I'm going to play a short clip. Hold on. This is kind of backing up what we already talked about.
Told me after the speech was that, a lot of us were talking about how it was embarrassing, how it was out of touch, how it was selling out the Ukrainians. But he said to me, Seth, if you listen carefully, it's actually much deeper and darker. He was talking about the enemy within. This is some of the same language that Hitler used to justify the Holocaust. Just after the speech, Vice President Vance went to the old Nazi Party headquarters in Munich to meet with the leader of the modern day neo-Nazi party in Germany. So what was bad at Munich could actually get worse. This is a very, very dangerous administration. I think our European allies are just coming to terms with it. The Republicans in Congress have yet to find the courage to do something about it back here at home.
I do want to take it back to home turf politics.
So I guess it was Vance who met with the neo-Nazis, not Hegseth. But Hegseth basically said, Ukraine, you have to accept the borders you're living in with now, and Russia's going to take you back over. That's your choice. Any comments?
Yes, this is all threats, and Zelensky went on one of the Sunday shows, and he was like, "No, that's not going to happen." So there's going to be
Russia was having a hard time.
Right.
Russia
John
was.
is right. Russia don't have and I don't think Russia have ambition of taking the Ukraine over. They don't want the country to be building biological weapons. They don't want Western-style missiles on its borders, just like the Bay of Pigs incident with Kennedy.
I was trying to explain to Bianchi that Russia invaded the Ukraine. The Ukraine wanted to defend itself. They chose to. It's a very large country. I had a map up earlier. So
Ukraine, most of the people in the Ukraine are Russians.
Yep.
Well, here's the point. The point is that Trump doesn't think Europe is going to defend the Ukraine. Europe is not going to help the Ukraine. That's
You know what Trump's agenda should be? What he politically campaigned for. MAGA, make America great. Leave Ukraine alone. Leave South Africa alone. Leave Gaza alone. Work on the United States. The hell those other places.
I won't go that far.
I agree.
But I mean, we need to have our concentration here to run our businesses and take care of the immigration situation and things like that. We don't have enough people to deputize in immigration to take the bad guys out of here, but also, make sure that everything runs smoothly. TSA, FAA, the control towers. We need people here to work on things that we need to, because we're growing. America is going to be growing for another, I think they're looking at about 100 years or 80 years, and then that's where we'll peak and start dropping in our population. So we've got to absorb probably 100 million more people, maybe 60, 80 million more people in order to get to that point. And this is, we've already polluted the hell out of our world. So that's why we're looking to, and I'm not looking to it, but that's why some, quote unquote mobster Nazi aliens are looking to the moon and Mars to populate, because we're in a toxic waste dump.
I would like to say something, Don. I heard on Christian radio today that $30 billion was 30 billion or 30 million, I think it was, given to North Carolina for picking up the, up after the flood. And also 6 million came from Christian organizations. Now factor that in with all the, just think of all the federal layoffs in DC. All those people are going to be displaced. They're going to move out of the DC area, trying to find a different job.
They said they were dismantling FEMA. That's what they said.
Well, I know. I guess they got the 30 million before FEMA. The whole point is that Don was right. We have our hands full. We have our hands full. If Trump is going to try to get rid of all the illegal aliens and deport them, and then he's going to restructure the whole federal spending, how are we going to have time to even deal with the Ukraine and what they're trying to achieve?
We won't. That's why this 2 years is going to be a complete disaster, only because it's not well planned.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Another motherfucking just drop it on the desk and see what we got. And that doesn't even make sense because his plans are even diametric to what he wants. He wants to appease the people on Project 2025, but yet he has his own area and agenda. And those conflict in a lot of places. So he's in confusion. He's not getting any younger.
He's also laying off people. Key vital part. Wait, Bianchi, I have one thing left to say. He's cutting the jobs of trained federal employees that pay a third of their income for taxes. That's a big loss of revenue.
But he's taking it back by destroying programs and putting that money into his pockets. And
the programs don't work, and he's not putting money in his pocket. The national also working for nothing.
The Cancer Society or department or whatever it was, that works. We've
been putting money for the cure of cancer since before I was a baby. It ain't working.
Well, you know what?
None of them work because the ultimate thing is the white people don't know how to run things. They're too greedy. Nothing is good.
We're about to do well. Hell, in St. Louis, in black politics, is killing every goddamn thing.
Right, because they learned it from
bull crap. They don't learn. I guess they learn how to wipe their butts from white people.
Okay, let's Suzette talk to Trump is also going to the Supreme Court on an appeal in which he wants to fire a top man in an agency. It was an independent agency. It's called Bassart versus Dellinger. And the Supreme Court is firing him because, the Supreme Court might not allow Donald Trump to fire this man. It's an independent agent.
In the Constitution, it spells out what his duties are.
Well, he can't do anything he wants.
He does what the Constitution allows him to do, and that's down there anything any patriot would want to do.
Trump is trying to fire the head of a government ethics watchdog agency. So I think it's the Office of the Special Counsel. And it's going to the Supreme Court because he's not allowed. He's not allowed.
The Supreme Court don't hire people.
He's violating the law, and the Supreme Court is going to hear his case.
Well, I tell you what. Show me where it's written down that he can't fire people.
I will show you.
All right, I got a Constitution right here.
Once I get my federal clearance.
I got a couple hundred of them that I passed out.
Okay, it's Suzette's turn. It's Suzette's turn.
I'm just listening to you get ready to jump in. So, anyway, he can, and there was a judge that actually was a Democrat judge, and he said that basically what Trump is doing with the Doge and the authority that it's working under is legal. And it was actually created under Obama to begin with. They just changed the title a little bit, but with the processes and things that they're working under are still under the same description.
So why is it going to the Supreme Court? Because Trump didn't get his way, so he obviously had to go through a different means to try to get his way.
What do you mean he's trying to get his way?
He's not allowed to, he cannot fire someone who's the head of the watchdog agency because that person is watching him. That person is watching him.
Do you understand do you believe what you're saying?
Watchdog agency has no power over the presidency. That would be like the fourth branch of government then?
It was I believe it was created under Nixon. There was an office of special counsel that was created to monitor executive officials and their wrongdoing.
It's not in the Constitution. Do you understand the supreme law? Uno number one is the Constitution.
Yes, I understand that.
And create act. An act is not a Constitution. Amendment.
The thing is that he cannot create a new department if he does not have the funding approved by Congress.
That's true. Dog is illegal. Doggy.
No, it's not illegal.
It is. It's not created. It's just fake. It's a fake department.
It's about the auditing of the expenditures of the U.S. government. It's revealing fraud and waste and corruption. Now, here's the point. What is the people going to do? You going to let it continue to exist?
The watchdog agency is exposing corruption too.
We don't need no watchdog. They won't do it.
Watchdog agency. Doge is the watchdog agency.
No, Don, I'm talking about a separate watchdog agency.
Well, the watchdog agency is the inspector general.
Oh, by the way, did you know Trump was going to fire the board of directors of the Kennedy Center and make himself the chair?
If he wants to do it, who's paying for the Kennedy Center?
The government tax dollars.
Well, then he's supposed to make sure that the government tax dollars are going for a good purpose. USAID is not supposed to, it's done to be funding a gay and lesbian opera in Italy.
Well, I don't think Donald Trump should be in charge of the artistic flair of our nation.
That's your thinking.
By the way, in about 3 months, we're going to find out what he's really up to. Right now, it's all hearsay.
Yeah, good thing he came along when they did. We damn near broke.
Well, we're broke for a number of reasons. I do believe that
Paying 150-year-old people Social Security. You got that right.
Are you the one who sent me an article that 10,000 people are using the same Social Security number in Arizona? The IRS would be able to catch that.
They didn't catch you funding elections in 2020.
I know a Mexican kid that his mom used to sell Social Security numbers to border crossers.
Oh my God!
You should have turned them in. That makes you complicit with the whole illegal scheme.
I worked with him at Six Flags and he was 18 years old.
You should have turned them in.
She had already.
I'll turn them in.
She was born on the same day and same year as me.
I don't care if she was pointed out. Tell me her name. I turn her buddy.
I don't remember her name. I just remember his name. Just think, I can sneak you over El Paso into Mexico. And then you can meet with El Chapo.
You talking about Bianchi?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Canada and get one of those marching uniforms like they have at Kensington Palace, and I'm gonna fight for the Canadians.
I see where Mexico is putting 10,000 troops on their border. That sounds like they're building a wall. It ain't.
I think there could be a war in the in the Americas before this is all over.
I'm ready for it. Matter of fact, I'm ready to skip everything between start and go crazy, go right on the goal, and let's get it on.
By the way, I found a map from Mexico from 1794. They controlled all the southern coastline of Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, all the way down to the Mexican East Coast, all the way down to South America, and that's why it's called the Gulf of Mexico.
It's called the Gulf of America right now.
No, it ain't.
I've seen maps with the Gulf of America on it.
I think, what if Europe goes to war against us? If Russia's going to align with America, and Russia is a friend of Iran, that means Israel's in bigger trouble.
I ain't thinking about Israel myself. Those that do, perfectly fine. Let them think about it. I don't know.
Okay, Suzette, your turn to run the show.
To do what?
I want
Okay, so-
I want you to ask you a question, and then I want you to be the commentator. My friend John, who I'm on the outs with right now, you guys all know him. He says if we turn our backs on Israel now, we're going to be cursed. But I told him, as a Christian, I don't approve what Netanyahu's done over the last 2 years, that he's killed innocent children and mothers just because there's bad elements of the Hamas in Palestine. You don't wipe out a whole nation because of a few bad guys. So do you guys think it's morally and ethically fair that a Western power would go into Gaza and plow it down and kick out the Palestinians?
Yes, I do. And
Jeez, you do?
Well, it's wrong for the U.S. to get involved in that to that length and extent. In my opinion, as far as Israel goes, the Israelites that are claiming that that's ground and anything else along those lines, I don't feel they're supposed to still be wandering. God never gave them that land. The EU did. And so, you're talking
about Britain now.
Okay, but they are the ones that gave them that land, said they were going to split it between two countries, and so the other Gaza Palestinians, whatever you want to call that portion now, because they really don't have a name per se in the books, but not anymore anyway. We're just told, here it is, this is the way it's going to go. You guys are splitting up, and you can like it or lump it. So if you lump it, well, then find someplace else to live. And that was wrong. You can't just go into a country and start designating parts of it to whoever you want to. I mean,
well, that's what
really?
They did to Germany after World War II. Each ally got a fourth.
Well, whether they did it, we're not talking about Germany. You asked me about Israel. So
okay, I have a question for you, though. Since you're a believer in Christ, the Old Testament states that God gave the Jews that land, but then the Jews messed up and their kingdom of 12 divided. It divided into Judah and Israel. 2 tribes went with one group, and the other 10 tribes went with the other group. And God allowed foreigners to invade their land many times. So now we're in modern day where everyone's paying attention. Do the Jews still have the right to all of Gaza?
No, I don't. No. I don't think so. And I think anytime we engage ourselves with Israel in a proxy war, or even supporting it financially or with arms, that is wrong. That is absolutely wrong. If they are truly God's people, and if they are protected and guided and whatever else they claim that that's the Holy Land and those are the chosen, then they don't need our help. I mean, they seem to claim to have this Mossad that is the best in the world, but we've never seen them in action. They're do they really exist, or just in name and stories only? If they're so badass, pardon my language, then why can't they take care of themselves?
And they used to be able to.
Netanyahu mentioned in his last speech before Biden had left, that they don't need the U.S., that the U.S. needs them. And that stuck with me because it's like, oh, yeah? Really? Then why you guys always have your hand out crying? We need help with the chosen people. If you turn your back on us, you're turning your back on God. Well, you know what? You turned your back on Jesus Christ. What am I going to say?
That's true, because we gave millions each year to the Iron Dome system, which is the system that deflects weapons coming at their country. We have given to them repeatedly, my bone of contention is the same as Jimmy Carter's, that if you are, it's okay to defend your own country and be sad about the hostages, but you, as a religious person, whether you're Christian, Jew, or Muslim, you can't go in and kill a whole nation. That's
Well, here's the thing,
that's
too.
wholesale
Religion-
murder.
Religious beliefs and myths should not be a factor in the policies of this nation.
It is.
The heck with that stuff. They should not be. I'm not no Christian. I don't want my tax dollars going to no bunch of idiots calling themselves God people. Netanyahu went to school in Philadelphia. Was he born? There's no such thing as being born a Jew. You're born a human being.
A lot of foreign leaders have gone to classes in the U.S., including the Iranian president, the one who was in there before Khomeini, the Western style one.
And a lot of people, and a lot of blacks have went to school in Russia. I guess Sammy Davis Jr. is a biological Jew. I guess Whoopi Goldberg is a biological Jew. There's a whole lot of them.
A lot of them converted too, and then there's the Hebrew Christian.
Conversion don't mean you were born one.
Right.
All I know is that, okay, the Jews missed the message of Jesus. To love your neighbor as yourself, pray for those who persecute you, give to
I
the.
don't pray for no goddamn.
I'm
body.
talking.
I got
I'm
my
not.
own
You're
business
not.
dealing with them.
I'm not talking. You're not Jesus.
Yeah, damn right I am Jesus. Let Jesus come down and fight his own damn battles.
He's coming back, and he.
Basically, that these things that are supposed to be claimed by holy people that would live on a sacred land are not all about that, like the people that are in Israel. So she's not saying you need to. She's just saying.
I'm saying
in
people.
general.
Hell, the Apache, the Cheyenne, the Navajo, they all got sacred land.
Sure. And she's not for.
Bianca, you're missing the point.
Yeah.
Jesus is the new covenant. He's an extension of Judaism. Many
Who said that?
Many of the Jews rejected him. That's how he ended up on a cross.
I asked you a question. Who says that?
It's in historical writings.
What historical record? How is it in the historical
The
record? There was no
Sanhedrin.
English- there
Be
was no
quiet and let me
English.
finish, damn it.
You goddamn right I ain't.
Be quiet. The Sanhedrin was the elite Jews that knew everything about law and scripture. They're the ones
The
who
Sanhedrin.
they put Jesus
we
to.
don't think-
Okay, I'm taking you
Go
off.
ahead.
Okay, everyone's going off speaker but me. The Sanhedrin, they were the elite Jews that dissected scripture before Jesus became popular. When Jesus came on the scene, they didn't know what to make of him. He was performing miracles. He was helping people. Then you can't talk right now. You're on mute. The crowd loved Jesus, and a week later they hated him. They put him on trial and they put him to death. And the Jews were responsible for that. And that is why that's why all the Nazis in Germany called the Jews Christ killers, and they persecuted them. I ain't gonna explain. You're gonna have to go back and read the Bible and the Holy Scriptures and the Quran, and you're gonna have to read the Talmud. I ain't giving you a Bible lesson in a 10-minute span.
You know what? Jesus was a black man, right? You know why? 3 reasons why. Number 1, he went around calling everybody brother. Number 2, he loved gospel music.
Oh,
And
God.
number 3, he didn't get a fair trial.
That's funny, actually. Some of my black things thinks he was all black. I think he looks like a Mediterranean Brad Pitt.
The people that look like Benjamin Netanyahu was nowhere around during those period of time in history. It's a bunch of made up crap.
You know who the most beautiful Jew is in the world? Bob Dylan.
Ellen Thomas said they need to go back where they came from. Poland and the United States.
You know what? I don't want to talk about that because you're in alignment with the Black Hebrew Israelites who think
I'm
that,
not in alignment with nobody.
and he thinks all the blacks are he thinks all the Jews, the whole 12 tribes of Israel were black.
The 12 tribes of Israel is nothing more than zoological signs. That's all they are.
Okay, well, you know what? In this case,
Well, why are you arguing with me? You're not going to change my mind, lady.
because you're kind of being pushy, that's why.
Hell, you working 3 jobs. You in bad shape.
I have 2 jobs.
And you can't find your son. I don't have those problems.
You know what? You're being a jerk. You may hang up now. You're being a...
You don't like it. You want to argue with somebody when you could be losing the argument. You want to run the person that's beating you up in the argument away.
I took Bianchi off speaker now. He is not on the show tonight. I do not like personal attacks. And if I work 2 jobs, it's my business. Suzette and Don, you can continue on the show. Bianchi, please hang up.
That's going to shoot the ratings up.
You know what? He's calling me on Saturday telling me to visit New Orleans or wherever the hell he lives. And now he's insulting me for working 2 jobs just because I'm not dependent on a husband?
Yeah, well, he's got his own ideas. You know, he's not from here. You know.
No, he was born in America. He's an Egyptian American.
There you go. I mean, but he's like not from here. My family, you know, and he can insult us as much as he wants about the building of America. But I have both sides of my family, and my wife has her side of the family back to at least 1840s. So, you know, we've been here the whole time, practically the whole time.
My relatives didn't get here till 1902.
Right. Well, that's most people, as I said, we were right at the time.
Can I ask Suzette a question? And you too, Don? First of all, he's knocking the NAACP who try to do good on their own just because he doesn't want to be a part of it. Then Suzette, he doesn't know anything about Holy Scripture, and he just counts it that it's part of any kind of history.
He's not a Christian. Give him that.
85% of the world is either Muslim, Jew, or Christian. There's not that many atheists. The rest of them are Shintoism and
He's not atheist.
Yes, he is an atheist. He's an atheist, Don.
Okay.
And I even found it on his profiles on other internet sources.
Well, what's wrong with that? I mean,
The thing, let me tell you guys something. He called me, he left me 2 long messages on Saturday, so I called him back after my night shift. He's inviting me down to New Orleans. He's telling me I need a husband. Every other week he tells me to step under the mistletoe. He doesn't like women who are independent, sort of like John. Like, I'm not interested. I've seen his picture. He's in his 70s. And he was a jerk tonight. He gets really mad about religion.
He gets mad about anything.
And the Jews and Christians are related. The old covenant was with God and his chosen people. The new covenant is Jesus and everybody else, the Gentiles, the Jews, or anybody who wants to accept him. Jesus opened the door to the Gentiles.
That's your interpretation of Western religion. You've got a different interpretation of whatever.
And it's his opinion, and that's why he said don't argue, because you're not going to change it because it's his
I don't
opinion.
mind what his beliefs are, but
he's not going to argue with you either.
Why is he attacking me? Why is he attacking me about my son?
Because he wants to hurt you. He might have some feeling for you. I don't know what it could be, but that was purposeful. That's not the first time, Jay. So just chill. Well, how long has Bianchi been on now? Almost 2 years.
I'd say at least 2 years.
So at the end of the day, I thought that, our discussions that we have over, general things going on in our lives, or as far as pertaining to our government, politics, and how we're affected, or just to give our opinions on certain issues and topics. And I like that you introduced the new segment about historical figures to basically reintroduce our foundings to your listeners on a weekly basis. That would be a great thing to do. Continue, I think. But at the end of the day, whatever heated discussion, debate, whatever it is, at the end of the night, we shake hands and say, see you next week. Because it's not to be taken personal, because it's the politics. It's, it's not heartfelt, deep type things where we're actually personally affected by our opinions, because it's your opinion, it's my opinion, it's Don's opinion, it's Bianchi's. And so that's where I thought the show was about, or what it was about, and where we're going with it. And yes, I understand he got personal, and so maybe he needed to be checked with that. We all do that when we get heated sometimes, passionate about what it is we're discussing, and so we just need to check ourselves when that happens, that it's not personal.
That's my job, Suzette, because that's
right.
It's not the first time, and it's not the second time, it's not the third time, it's the fourth time. Bianchi has enemies that are at least one that I know of, more or less Mike, but Singapore Mike. But he's got other people who he's on other shows with. He's
on a lot of shows, and he sent me a link to a conservative show this weekend that I didn't have a chance to listen to. Like Blog Talk Radio is dissolved now, and we technically, like, running a show on YouTube, the most, like, 3 co-hosts is enough, because I'm doing it from my personal cell phone. Until I get a studio, like on Instagram or something, I'm still trying to figure it out. But I just want to reiterate, thank you, Suzette, for being professional. I would not have taken anything personally. He's already stated to us many times that he thinks all religions are hogwash, and none of them are. He started naming off Egyptian gods he thought were legitimate, but he rejects all people of the book. He rejects Muslims, he rejects Christians and Jews.
So does he reject Christian America? He doesn't buy into the Christian aspect of MAGA. He only buys into the economic prosperity of MAGA. He doesn't. Yeah.
I mean, other than when he, goes over the line as far as throwing personal insults, I think the diversity of thought on a show like yours is good. That we're not an echo chamber as far as all Christians all believing the same things, because it's good to get a different perspective, and sometimes we can learn things as to why or what they believe and why they believe it. Diversity of thought is good.
Like, for example, sometimes I get in arguments with Don, but it's only like when he's saying offhanded comments like, Don, when you get really silly, and you start saying things like screw that and screw this. But I don't really get in a real fight. I don't get into any real fights with you. Well, I just don't like when you say you guys don't know what you're talking about.
You just muffled up. What'd you say?
Like when you say you guys don't know what you're talking about? Yeah, my phone's acting up, you guys.
Okay, well, you guys don't know what you're talking about.
So, Suzette and Don, eat rocks. Suzette and Don, can you do your conclusion? I'm going to be quiet for a minute.
Oh, okay. I thought I just did mine.
You did, Suzette. If I hadn't met you, I don't know what I'd do, because I threw John under the bus this weekend, too.
Oh, yeah.
So that means that you and I are the only ones that have to
I'm hiring a guy from the college to be on the show. He's a Catholic. He's a Catholic and he writes theological papers.
Well, I have some observations. I mentioned some of them about New York, but there seemed to be a malaise over the city too. It was very drizzling, dank, foggy the entire time we were there, and we had some of the most beautiful views imaginable in the city, and we've been to most all of them. But it was magnificent, the lights at night, being able to see the sea and the sea and another sea during the day. But you're on the postage stamp land, and it's not, I think it's only about 25, 30 miles wide. Something, I don't know the actual city itself, but you can get there. Theoretically, I don't even think it's that big. 25 square miles. It's something, at least Manhattan, and it takes you a good, I would have to say, in most cases, at least 35 minutes to get 5 miles, and that is not a very good use of time. In most cases, many cases, because like I said, we rented the college, so we were all over, saw a lot of the city, the boroughs, but I don't know if it's worth it. I don't know if life is worth it. It's too short.
Life is a struggle, Don. People forget that.
For some.
Like prosperity people talk about Joel Osteen and prosperity preaching. People forget about the struggle. Like even you, Suzette, you've overcome a lot of your hardships, but you're faced every day with difficulty. So am I. I'm trying to crawl over snowbanks. I hate wearing boots. I'm forced to because I fell down 5 times. And Don, it's been one of the most dreary winters ever. And I saw the pictures in New York, and it's very dark and depressing.
That's true, but it's all how we take on those challenges that we face every day.
That's my conclusion. I mean, that was the conclusion of my statement, is that it's a morass there that is turning apparently very negative. We were there at the height of the Eric Adams situation.
Yeah, no, what I heard is that he got forgiven by the Trump administration.
Yeah, well, you might have heard wrong, because I don't know if it went fully through because it had to be vetted or verified or something that had to cross a certain threshold in order for him to, be a quid pro quo where he would open up Rikers Island. And the last thing we saw, that he had opened up Rikers Island for ICE to go in and take whomever out.
Jeez.
So we're going to have criminals going back who are going to come back. And that is going to be a major terrorist issue right there. So, he doesn't know what he's doing. 47 doesn't know what he's doing. And he's there again doing it. And that's, that first term, what did he do well except give a 15% cut in tax break? Okay, that's what he did. I mean, everybody.
He also gave that stimulus money.
Yeah, well,
and he also took us out of the UN. He took us out of the Accord. He took us out of the WHO. And those were all good things.
The corruption by white people is enormous. And so, that's where he understands that signals black people, Hispanics, they don't have real wealth and power. But, so he knows that the money that he's taking has to be from white folks. And so, and he's pulling the wool over their eyes. And if they let him, that's a good
I
thing.
just think his whole mentality is off. Like, he was going after an agricultural policy in South America because he thought white farmers were getting dissed. That's none of his. That's none of his business. It's none of his business.
But those programs he's cutting are affecting my farmers. Some of them are subsidy costs for their land that they take up. The farmer right now is only utilizing 30% of their land on average because of subsidies and everything else that are going on. So that means that they have huge swaths of land that they're just getting paid money for.
Who is?
It's ridiculous.
I have Don. I have to interrupt you a minute because Suzette has to hang up soon.
I'm really hanging up.
Just let me finish for both of you. Don has been on the air with me since he's been on here regularly for 10 years. And he was on the air off and on since 2010. Suzette, I appreciate you. You've been sticking with me since 2020. I did want to tell you guys that Bianca wrote me back. And he was basically mad that I was imposing my make-believe religion on him, which I wasn't. I was just trying to explain the nature of the Jews and Muslims and Christians in that area. But needless to say, I want to thank you guys. I don't have to beg for people's loyalty. I can do the show once a week with one person, 2 or 3 or 4. I will make up with John tonight just because our relationship has really disintegrated. But I want to tell you guys that, like, life is hard for me right now, and I appreciate you guys. And I've been without Lauren for 3.5 months, and it's not easy. And I just want to thank you for being on the air.
Well, appreciate the opportunity that you've given me personally to participate on your show. And plus, we're friends outside of the show as well. So I appreciate your friendship and support. And as far as, you're right, you don't have to go after anybody's loyalty. That's just something that, you either have along with respect for another human being, or you don't. And the ones that don't, well, they don't need to make your life harder on a daily basis or a weekly basis whenever you have the show. So,
and also, I
respect.
Go ahead.
Finish. I just want to say I respect your decision, and thank you.
And by the way, I didn't mail your 2 Christmas cards back yet. I decided to wait till this week because there's no school.
Okay. Oh, we have a mailbox now, so.
Okay, so I'm gonna definitely. Do I still write 4.3? Do I still write 432.5?
Yes.
Okay.
428.5. So.
That's what I meant. 428.5.
Yeah.
So, Don, I mailed her 3 cards over the last 2 months, and they all came back.
Oh, okay, got you. Because I was gonna say just save them to next year.
No.
But no, they're last year's, and we had a dog issue, so the mailman stopped our delivery, and so then we had issues with their post office, but we got it resolved.
Can you believe it, Don? They couldn't get their mail because of a dog.
It wasn't even our dog.
I've done that many, many times. Had to restore the mail after my dogs got, because I used to never leash. And so my dog was outside all the time when the mailman came and I was home. So and the mailman would call on us, and I'd get the summons, and they'd stop the mail. Just put a mailbox out front for a while and all that stuff. Yeah, many times. So I don't understand. Renters as opposed to homeowners. We have a whole different bunch of rules and regulations, and when you own a home,
they'll stop it, and then trying to get a hold of the postmaster is just ridiculous. They do what they want basically, and they can see you when they want.
Plus, Suzette, you live in a highly populous area. Like, it's not like you're in Wyoming when there's only 10,000 people in the town.
Right.
Yeah. So, well, thanks for joining tonight, you guys. I gotta look some things up now, and have a great night.
All righty.
I
Good night, Don.
I'll try to
appreciate you.
I'll try to call you, Suzette, during a non-radio time.
Okay, sounds good. Or I'll give you a call. It's my turn to call you.
Sure, no problem. Have a good night. Okay, bye-bye.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Take care. Good night.
Bye. When people are faced with the evidence of Christianity or Judaism or Islam, people who are not believers get threatened and scared because they don't want to acknowledge the importance of those religious dynamics and how it impacts the world. Even if you are not a believer, please check out religious writings in each of the three major religions and get back to us on the show. Thank you.